All right. Well, we're going to continue going here with our webinar. For those of you who didn't see what I was showing, I was showing everybody what we consider to be a traditional corsage. This has been a standard that's been around for years and years and years. And as I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a very lovely corsage. It has the right mechanics. It's sturdy. It's comfortable to wear. It's got beautiful flowers and beautiful accessories. But it's the same tradition we've been doing for many, many years. And it's time to kind of give a little oomph to our design work and take those traditions and make them ours and make them more current. Certainly, none of us are wearing the dresses we wore back in 1997. So we don't want to have the girls wearing corsages that were worn back in 1997 either. So this is the new tradition. This is very similar. It's the same type of shape, kind of that oval mounded shape, which is, I want to say, very popular, and we certainly see a lot of it. But what we've done is we've added motion and we've added texture in our accessories, and we've upgraded our accessories with the flutters and with the accent sprays. It's the same type of rhinestone. It's just a little bit more sparkly, a little larger, in some interesting shapes as well. So we've updated what we're doing. So this is going to be our first project, is the corsage. So we're going to go ahead and start with that and get our products out, get our materials out for that. Now, as you can see, I'm using permanent botanical flowers for mine. And that's kind of a twofold reason. One is just kind of easier for me in a webinar series to use the permanent botanicals. But in your case, I would highly recommend considering using that if you're going to continue to come back and take some of our webinars, because then you'll have samples ready to show your prom girls when they come in to order their corsages. You won't have to stop and do that again in March or April when you're getting ready for your prom. They'll already have some permanent botanical samples on display. So one moment here, I'm going to adjust my screen so that you can actually see what I'm doing as opposed to having to watch me talk. And again, if there's anybody who's having difficulty, please type in your question or type in that we're having some difficulty seeing, because we want to make sure that you don't miss a step. And you can just follow right along as we're building the corsage. If you get a little behind, don't worry. There'll be a few minutes at the end of each project for you to catch up or finish or put the finishing touches on. But here we have everything that we're going to be using for our corsage. And in production, you know that when we're doing prom, we have multiple orders that we have to fill, and we have a very limited time in which we have to fill them. And so I always recommend getting everything ready in advance, having everything set out that you know you're going to need, and not just doing onesies at a time. Do 2, 3, 4. If you have something that has all pink roses and you have 15 orders that call for pink spray roses, pull all those orders and have those set down so you can actually work on one flower type or one color group as you're doing your production. That will save you time instead of having to go back to the cooler each time, grab pink roses, then your next order is yellow roses, and then your next order is white alstroemeria. If you work in those type of categories or groups, you'll save much more production time and be able to get done faster. One of the other things we want to make sure that we do in our webinar series is teach you the proper way to use Fitz products. Fitz really puts a lot of time and effort into coming up with products that can be used in multiple ways, but are also very user-friendly and efficient. We want you to be efficient in your design because we know that labor is money. So we've developed a lot of products that, a lot of people will kind of take them and use them their own way, but we just want to review. A lot of you are already using Fitz products, so you already know this, but this is just going to be a little review for you as well. And for those who are new to our product line, I want to make sure that you get all the information so that you're utilizing our products in the best way. As you can see, we have one of our Color Your World bracelets. It's one of our newer bracelet lines that's been very popular the last year and a half, and it comes in a great selection of colors, all with the trend-setting colors that match all the current spring dresses that will be coming out. On this bracelet, we have our Ultimate Disc Clip, which includes the very familiar design disc and also the new clip. We did this for several reasons. One was because we had people who wanted it. They were asking, how do we use the plastic? We liked the metal clip. So we thought it was time that we answer their questions and answer their call and create a product that is both user-friendly for those who still like to wire and tape or who want the versatility of a larger gluing platform, and those who don't. You can take this off if you want, but it's real easy to keep it right on there by just bending in the little wings, and now it's out of the way and ready for you to start gluing and building your corsage on top of that. For those of you who are concerned, you can take it one step further and actually go ahead and put some tape, corsage tape around that. But honestly, there are no sharp edges, and it's very comfortable to wear with those wings folded in. Another item that is very familiar to those of you who use the Fitz Design products is our ribbon rosette. This ribbon rosette, although it looks like it's just utilitarian and there to hold the disc on, really has multiple functions. Yes, it's there to hold the disc on, and we always recommend that you unravel the streamers and tie a nice, tight, secure knot to make sure that that disc is secured tightly to the bracelet. Now, at this point, you say, what do we do with these streamers? Well, you can do a couple things with them. I always leave them on so that I can tie my bow to the platform using these ribbons. Just one shortcut way to make sure my bow gets secured to that, and I've already been provided with the mechanic to do so. Another thing is, on occasion, you have those teeny tiny wrist of those young prom girls today, and every once in a while you'll find one of our bracelets that may be a little bit loose on those teeny tiny girls. By leaving these ribbon streamers, it allows you to actually go underneath and tie the streamers to the wrist, and that helps hold the bracelet in place on the wrist. Just another little extra secure way to keep that from turning around on those really teeny tiny skinny girls. So now that we've got that tied and nicely secured, we're going to go ahead and make our bow. One thing that's really nice with the gluing techniques that's so popular today that we're doing, you don't need to have an overly large ribbon. Ribbon is used to bring color and texture into their corsage, but it's also a nice mechanic that will help hold and secure your products in there. So that's why we want to start off with the ribbon. So 3 to 4 loops on each side I find to be adequate. I use a piece of the ribbon to tie off my bow. I do this for a couple reasons. One, that way I have a couple extra streamers, and I love ribbon, so I love to see the streamers. And 2, when I've always wired them off with a piece of florist wire, I found I get them so tight that sometimes I can't adjust my loops, and then I'll find I have a bow that's lopsided, maybe a little topsy-turvy. But when I have it and tied off with the ribbon, I'm still allowed to pull a loop through so I can balance it off if I need to. So now that we have that, and we're going to use our ribbon streamers, and we're going to tie our bow right to our wrist. Oh, I hear something. Something coming in? No? Okay. All right, so now that's tied tightly to my bracelet. I can either choose to leave the ribbon streamers on, maybe tie them into little love knots, or use them to glue little flower accents or leaf accents or items to it, or I can just go ahead and cut them off and remove them. Just for the sake of ease today, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them off and remove them. So that we have that. The next thing we like to do is put a little glue. I usually just bunch up my ribbon. And I like to put glue right on the surface here. all the way around. Not a lot, but just enough to cover that surface of the disc and the clip there. Now, for those of us who have worked with glue, we know that the glue is best glue-to-glue surface. When the glue on one side and glue on another side come together, it helps build a bond and an adhesive and sticks better into your designs that you're creating. So by doing that, I'm going to let that kind of just sit up while I get my next item ready. So that's kind of getting tacky. And again, another trick is when the glue is tacky, it holds better and quicker. And I'm going to take my corsage leaves, and I don't need the stems on them. I'm only going to take maybe 3 or 4 of them. Cut my stem right off. I'll move that out of the way here. I'm going to go ahead and put a little dab of glue on each of them. Instead of doing one at a time, doing them all at once and setting them aside allows them to get a little tacky, so they're going to hold faster and quicker. I know when I was first using glue all those years ago, one of the frustrations I had is that it would never hold in there fast enough. And you know, I like things to happen quickly, and I didn't want to have to wait. But when I learned the whole making it a little tacky and letting it sit, it really made a big difference in my design work and how fast I could go. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm putting these right onto the disc mechanic to kind of cover that up and conceal it. And because these are tacky and I'm doing glue to glue, they hold quickly and securely right away. The next thing I'm going to add in are my flowers. For you, it'll start with your alstroemeria. 3 to 4 blooms is really all you need. That's what I used in creating my corsage. And again, same thing, I'm going to go ahead and apply my glue. Right to my flower, set it there, let it get a little tacky while I go on to the next one. When using your glue on your cut flowers, make sure you cover that little tiny cut where you've cut it off its stem with the glue. That helps hold in the moisture and seals that cut. And that's something we want to do. For years and years when we wired and taped, as great as that was and as helpful as that was for all these years, we've actually now found that using glue adds to the longevity of the flowers because it seals in that wound, that cut, and helps keep the moisture into the flower. So it's actually better for the flower to use the glue than it is to do the old wire and tape method. And then we're going to go ahead and glue those in. And because I don't have glue in here now, we're going to actually stick it into where I want it, pull it out really quick, because what that does is it leaves a little dab of glue from the flower into the place where I want it, and then stick it back in. Put it in, just take it right out, and put it right back in. It's a really quick 1, 2, 3 step. It's not something where you have to hold it, bring it out. It's really quick. Just get it in there, dab it where you want it, and then put it back in. And you can see that's already sticking in. They're not falling out. On to the next flower. We're going to add a couple spray roses. And again, I'm going to cover that back calyx, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to cover where the cut would be. And many years ago, because you always, one of the questions are, how much glue is enough? Well, they told me do that kind of small, medium, large. Small is too tight. It's not going to work. Large isn't, that's too big. That's too much. It's going to get messy. But medium is perfect. Again, stick it in, pull it out, put it back into where I want it to be. The same with the next one. Put it where I want it to go, pull it out, stick it in. And now we have our flowers added in. Now we can start having some fun with the accessories. One of the things we like to teach at Fitz Design is sensible designing. How many of you have, at the end of your prom season, ended up with a bunch of onesies, twosies, one feather here, one stem of rhinestone there, and you've got all these bits and pieces and half-open packages? Well, when we're creating our projects, and that's another reason why we highly recommend the 3 items and not just the corsage and the boutonniere, but the corsage, the boutonniere, and the other accessory, is that it allows you to use up all your products. For instance, we're having 1 pack of flutters, which holds 3 stems of flutters. We're going to use 1 stem in the corsage, 1 stem in the boutonniere, and 1 stem in the accessories. So it makes it easier for you to price out your products, as well as not have all those leftover 1 or 2 pieces that we know get put in a shoebox and get put back on the shelf because everybody goes to open a new package when they like to design. So we don't want to do that. We want to be efficient. We want to make sure that we're being profitable in how we use our product. So I always like to kind of fluff up my feather. And in this case, we're actually going to deconstruct it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just cut a couple feathers out of it. Not all of them, just maybe 3 or 4 little of the flutter. That helps me distribute them all the way through. Cut off my stem. Go ahead and add the glue. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and place that into the corsage. I was lucky in the fact that these feathers came out already with a nice little curve to them. But sometimes they come out and they're a little bit more straight, and we want to have maybe some more movement to it. And all you need to do is take the back of your knife and rub it around, or just kind of glide it down the spine of the feather, and that will help add to a nice little curve. You'll also notice when I'm designing, I'm not designing from a puddle of glue. I'm designing right from the tube. And I know a lot of us, I know when I learned, I always poured the puddle out and went from there and started dipping my flowers and my accessories into the puddle of glue. But then I realized I was wasting so much glue by doing that, because by the time I could get back to it, it was starting to dry. And I wasted a lot of glue. So I forced myself to learn to go right from the tube and control the amount of glue. One of the ways you do that is always squeezing from the bottom and rolling the tube up. That will help you control the amount of glue you use, and you will have no waste like you get when you just puddle it and go from the puddle. You can see now I've added the feathers. They're all kind of coming back into the corsage, bringing your eye back into the focal point. They add a lot of nice movement. So if the girl's a little bit nervous when her date picks her up, she's going to be shaking. Those flutters are going to just be fluttering in the wind there. But we already have something a little bit nicer, a little bit more updated in style than what we had before, just by adding the flutters into that. But it's not done until it's a little overdone. So now we're going to add some accent sprays. This is a newer product that we have at Fitz. It's just kind of an update version of our rhinestone spray, but we just like that it has a little more bling, because we know bling is the thing these days, and bling brings the ching ching. So whenever we can have a new fun bling bling product, we're all about that. A little trick with something like this. These stems are very, very small, and it's metal. It's not porous. Glue works best on porous items like a ribbon or flowers, where something like metal is sleek and it's not porous. So the glue doesn't always stick very easily, or it takes longer to dry. So we recommend don't cut it off way up here, but leave a little bit of stem and then go ahead and just kind of bend that stem in. And as you can see, that kind of creates a little gluing platform right here, a little round circle that will hold a little more glue than if you just had to put it on that straight metal stem. Make sure you get glue on both sides so that it sticks the top and the bottom. And go ahead and insert it into your corsage. And again, they come out of the package and they're pretty as they are, but they're flat. And in some cases, we may want to use it that way. But again, I like to add a little more texture and a little more depth. So I just go ahead and adjust them a little bit, give them a little more personality. Again, just go ahead and if you need a longer stem, then you just don't fold it all the way up. You just fold it a little bit. I've got one over here, so now I'm going to put one on the opposite side so that I balance. Now, the one thing that is really important is that we don't put our accessories tucked way into the ribbons and into the flowers. We're paying for those accessories, and so are the prom girls, and we want them to be seen. That's what makes them special and unique. And when we push them way in and hide them behind baby's breath and ribbon, then we're really not getting the full impact. And the perceived value isn't there for the prom girl either. So we want to make sure that if we're adding an accessory, that it is in a place where it can be seen. It kind of sticks out above the flowers, not to overpower the flowers, but to complement them, but still be seen as part of the design. These are easily turned around, so if you want some facing forward and facing backwards, I'm doing that because this one's going to go right in the center, so I don't want them all facing the same way. I want some facing left, some facing right, some facing up. That way, no matter what angle they look at the corsage, they'll see the sparkle. Put it out, put it back in, and it will stick securely in place. Now, for the most part, we could be done, but we have a couple more leaves if I want to add. These happen to be a beautiful pink hologram. You have glitter leaves. Even maybe you're going to use some eucalyptus or another bear grass or something. This is the time when I would start adding in a little bit of those accessories. Once I have the base completely done, then I come back in, because a lot of times we have a tendency to put things in that we don't need or overdo it by adding too much filler or too much foliage or too many corsage leaves. This is perfectly fine the way it is, but my girl had a little extra money, so I have a few more little products left that I'm going to put in. So I'm going to make sure I put them in where they can be seen and where they're noticed so that she knows she's got her full value for what she spent. A little bit of glue. Got one more. Get my glue on there so that I can put them right in. And these are going to kind of come up towards the center. Stick it in, pull it out, stick it back in. So you can see by adding those in, I didn't cover up anything. You can still see all the same flowers you did before. You can still see the flutters and the accents. I just brought in that shiny, glittery look up into the corsage that was forming the foundation for it underneath. That way it brings up that same color and that same texture into the center of the corsage, into the focal point. Last, she loved baby's breath. Even though there was other beautiful things, she wanted baby's breath. So I'm going to stick just a couple sprigs. Again, this is my very last thing I add into the corsage because I don't want it to overpower. I don't want it to be a baby's breath or status corsage. She wanted it, so I'm going to add it just a little tiny bit into it so that it has it, and that will allow me to put it in a place where it's going to be seen and is needed instead of just a glob of filler flour in there. That way I use far less product. By using far less product, that means I have far less insertions. With far less insertions, that means I'm being able to make a corsage faster than I would. So it's a win-win situation all the way around. The last piece of baby's breath goes in. And we have our finished corsage. Has lots of movement, lots of depth, different textures, motion, a nice focal point. What girl wouldn't want to wear that for her prom? Okay, we're going to move right on to our boutonniere.
Susie, before you move on to that boutonniere, somebody would like to be showed how the glue is held in the box.
Oh, how the glue is in the box. Well, that is a great question. What we've done is we've taken the box that it comes in. You know, I'm one of these people, I don't like to throw anything away, especially if I can find a use for it. So we've just taken the box that the tube of glue came in. Let's see here. Oh, that's really in there. Why is that not coming out? All right, there we go. And usually these just get thrown away and tossed on the floor, but I wish this were my idea, but it isn't. Cut the box in half. One of the halves, the one that you opened, split it down the center, open it up using the glue, just glue on the bottom, glue on the box. So we're doing the glue to glue. That always works better. And then just go ahead and stick it on there. I usually pull it and then stick it. And then that holds. That way you don't have to lay your tube of glue down, because you know once you lay it down, it starts to run out. And you waste glue that way, having it upright, and that way you always know where it's at. It's in your little box. You can also go ahead and with your knife, punch a little hole in the side and stick your cap in there, because I don't know about you, but I always lose those caps. They always disappear. But that creates a nice little holder. That way you're not using one of your vases off the shelf that you need to be putting flowers in and selling for that order that's going out. You can go ahead and use the box. It's all in one self-contained gluing machine here.
Susie, they would also like to know if U-glue tabs could be used with that method shown.
With the box?
With the way you did the corsage.
In certain areas, you could use the U-glue. You could use that to put down on the... You could go ahead and put the U-glue down on top of this and then put your bow onto that and tie it on. But I have found that the glue works better in all temperatures. In some cases, the U-glue dashes, especially if it's very warm, might have a tendency to not hold. So I don't necessarily build corsages using the dashes, but I use them kind of as a secondary mechanic. The glue to me is the best way because it, like I said, it does seal the end of the flower, helping to hold the moisture in, which is really important. The U glue dashes, I'm not really sure would do that in the same way that the glue does. This is going to hold it pretty much permanently. You can pull them apart, but it's going to hold permanently. And I wouldn't use it personally to construct the entire corsage, maybe just to hold in a few of the pieces down onto the disc. But if you're going to try to put your flowers in or your accessories in with the U-glue dashes, using the glue is going to be far more economical. You're going to get a lot more use out of the glue than you will the U-glue dashes. So yes, they have their part and they can be used in certain aspects. I personally just don't recommend using it for the entire construction. Okay, is it okay for us to move on, Jamie?
I think you're ready to move on, Susie.
Thank you so much. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the boutonniere. Now, just like before where we had a traditional rose boutonniere, you know, the baby's breath, and we have a little of the rhinestone. Well, this is going to be the updated boutonniere. That's going to be a lot more compatible and look go with the corsage. Has the same elements that we did with our corsage. We have the feathers, we have the accent sprays, we have a little bit of the leaf, the same types of flowers, but just in a different way that updates the traditional to the new traditional. Okay. So for the boutonniere, we are using our easy pin. This is one of the greatest inventions out there, I believe, because it holds a boutonniere in place very securely, and it's very easy to use. No more fumbling around with trying to pin. I was horrible at that. I just dreaded having to go to weddings and things and pin on boutonnieres because I was always sticking myself with the pin and having to use 2, 3, 4 pins to make sure that the boutonniere didn't, start to wobble, from side to side. This is great. It has the 2 pins on the back. It has the foam cushion that the pins go into, making sure it holds tightly and securely onto the lapel. And it's a great way for you to use either with a traditional taping, wiring, and taping method, or you can go ahead and use a gluing method and just use this as a base for your boutonnieres. In this case, we're going to kind of do a combination of both wiring and taping, as well as some gluing. And so with this, first, we're going to take a little bit of our ribbon. I like to give it a decorative cut at the end. Go ahead and cover this with glue. Again, that medium amount seems to be just the right trick. I guess it's the 3 bear syndrome. Mama bear, Papa bear, baby bear. This is just right. Cover that up. So we've covered up our mechanic with our ribbon. Where's my folders here? Okay. With the flutters, they come with the 3 rhinestones, but I'm going to use one because I want to put it in one of the center of my flowers. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. I'm going to take a couple of the feathers and I'm just going to kind of curl them over. So now they're rounded, they're not straight up. And just take a little of my stemming tape and go ahead and tape right around that. Now, I'm going to have to pull those out a little bit. These flutters happen to be a little bit shorter than they were in the green, But you can see in this sample corsage that I made, or boutonniere that I made, just having those rounded like that kind of gives a different texture to the feather than just having them all come straight up. It helps create the focal point where the feather comes together with the flowers. So that's why I did that. And right here is at like the skinny point, the base point of that easy pin. That's going to kind of be my binding point where I hold everything. I'm just going to take a little piece of tape. I'm not going to go around it a lot. I just need to go around it once or twice so that I know that it's secure in there. And it is. I'm going to take my Alstroemeria and I'm going to go ahead and tape that to the same place, all at the same binding point. And then my rose. These would have been wired and taped flowers that I would be using. Trim off a little bit of that stem, but I kind of like that natural curly stem. So I'm going to go ahead and curl the end of that, give it a more decorative look. Go ahead and add in my accents. Tape that in. And then adjust those as needed so that they're positioned where I want them to go. Then I need my 2 leaves, and I'm going to go ahead and glue those in. A little bit of glue, let it sit for a second. A little bit of glue, let that sit. One and 2. It's coming together. Go ahead and you can either tape that if you want it to match the natural green stems that we have on the other one, or you can go ahead and cut it right off and not see it because you have that taped in there. I'm going to go ahead and put one little more piece of tape around there, just twice around, so that I know everything is tightly secured in there. It's not too thick because I haven't wound and wound and wound and wound the tape. I'm going to take my ribbon. I'm just going to go, I don't have to do the whole stem. I'm only need to do that little piece. Then I'm going to go ahead and just make a loop. Bring the ribbon streamer up through there and tie it off. And then I can go ahead and cut that into another little decorative so it matches what I did at the top and at the bottom. And there you have your boutonniere. It's very quick, very simple, incorporates both gluing and wiring and taping, brings in all the elements that you have in the corsage. I'm using some of the leftover product. I have one of the feathers that I had for the corsage. I'm using one of the feathers in the boutonnieres. The accent sprays come 6 in a package. And I have 3 in the corsage. I've used 1 in the boutonniere, and then we'll use the rest of them up in our next project.
Susie, can you tell them about the back on that boutonniere and the magnetic backs, how they compare?
It's really a preference as far as compare. I would say they're equal in their use and how they hold. Some people just prefer to have the pin, and this really was created for those people who like the traditional wire and tape method. As you can see, this traditional rose and baby's breath boutonniere was done on the easy pin. It creates your stem, your spine, and a way to quickly, easily secure it. But as with most designers, those of us here at Fitz Design, we're never satisfied with the ordinary or just how one way for it to be used. We want our products to be able to be used many different ways and many different applications. So we just took what was originally meant for a traditional wire and tape corsage and started, you know what, we can up that and we can glue onto it as well. The other items, the magnets, are a little harder to do a wire and tape and then secure it onto one of our magnet bases. So this is just a preference. Some people like to have the pins. Other people like the ease and use of the magnets. I will say, if you're doing, especially when it comes to wedding work, not necessarily something you have to worry about with prom work, at least I hope not, is with the magnets that they should not be worn by anybody with a pacemaker. So this would give you that alternative for a father of the bride or a grandfather of the bride or whomever who might need to be kind of cautious about wearing a magnet. You could still achieve some really creative, fun designs by gluing using the easy pin with a more traditional way of securing it onto the lapel. So I hope that answered your question.
Does the backing on it stick out rather far, causing the lapel to bulge?
No, I've not had that problem. And if you are concerned that it does, you can cut it down slightly. I've just cut off a little piece of it, and it's still. You know what? I'm gonna bear with me, and I'll show you. Can't see what I'm doing, so I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. So it's not uncomfortable, and it doesn't, I don't think, make it bulge or stick out at all. Okay.
You're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Our last project is that all-important third item. Not only is it going to help you use up all your supplies so that you can create be able to offer some of these additional accessories. You know, we do hear from time to time, well, it's just so expensive. Our girls don't want to spend that kind of money. But if you're helping them make these selections and you're selecting them for all their pieces, it becomes more affordable for them to select and use and have fun with some of these great products that are available to you. It doesn't all have to be put into the corsage. It can be spread out, and you get more perceived value that way, and you just spread the dollar a little bit more, and everybody can understand that and appreciates that if that's how you approach it. In this case, I made a design comb. little elegant thing for her to wear in her hair, either on the back, underneath the bun, or on the side if she pulls her hair up to one side. But it's just a little something fun. And again, it includes everything that we did in the corsage and in the boutonniere, so they're all coordinating. You should be, if when and if at all possible, always selling these items together. Don't let the girl or the guy walk out of your store without you saying to them, okay, we've got the corsage ordered. Now what are we going to do for your boutonniere and for your accessory, your floral accessory? Don't take for granted that they're going to ask for it. You need to just go ahead and tell them that it's available and you want to create it for them. Because if you leave it up to them, they're going to walk out with just the bare necessities of what they think they need. And honestly, they really do need to have all these beautiful items that you create for them. It's all about upselling. You know, we add balloons and plush to our vases and our arrangements. Consider the third item that same type of concept. It's your plush, it's your balloon to your arrangements. This is going to automatically, by selling one more item, increase your prom sales from the year before. If you've always been only doing a corsage and boutonniere, this one little item alone, which is going to take up your bits and pieces and your leftover items, turn them into money and turn it into a more profitable prom season for you. So like I said, I've selected to use the comb, but this can be easily done on our personality clip. As you can see, really, they're both on our design disc. So either one can be done. This is specifically for the hair, but the personality clip is so great because it can be worn on a shoe. It can be worn on a strap on a dress. It can be added to a belt. It can be added to a purse. It can be added to the back of the dress where it just clips over the back if she has a beautiful like dropped back neckline or something to her dress and you want some flowers so that she can be seen coming and going with your beautiful floral accessories. It's a great way to wear it. There's just, because this clips to just about anything and everything, it can be worn anywhere the girl wants to put it to enhance her prom dress and her prom accessories. She's going to go out, she's going to buy a beautiful necklace, she's going to buy beautiful earrings and beautiful shoes. She's going to make sure she has everything on that is necessary in her hair. It's our job to make sure that we're enhancing all those items as well as and giving them the opportunity to accessorize with flowers. So for our hair piece or personality clip, if you need to take a second to unclutter, because we want to make sure I don't know about you, but I've always been one of the designers that they have a tendency to get cluttered, so I have to stop and make an effort to unclutter my workspace. We're going to start off with the comb. I'm going to remove the tape, and just like with our corsages, I want to make sure that my disc is secure, tight to the comb. I don't want any chance of it unraveling or coming off. So I'm going to make sure that it's tied tightly. I'm going to move that to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a little knot in there. There we go. So now that I know that's tied, for this one I did go ahead and add some ribbon into it. So I'm going to go ahead and create my bow. Just 2 little loops on each side. And I have my remainder. I'm going to go ahead and tie that off. Adjust my loops as I need them. Make sure I have a nice even ribbon. Now, something I did with the sample is instead of leaving loops, I went ahead and just cut them into the points. Almost like a little starburst. So I didn't really want the ribbon to be the main item of it. I just wanted it to have kind of that color. I wanted to be able to bring in that texture. Go ahead and cut them. So now I kind of have like a little starburst. Using my strings to tie that on. Make sure it's tied on there tight. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the streamers then. Don't need them, but they certainly could be left on if you wanted to add another color or another texture and add some accents to those. And now because I've tied it instead of wired it, I can adjust it slightly, so I make sure that I'm kind of even. And very similar to the construction of the corsage I made, I'm going to go ahead and cover. Now you can see something that happens where you get that bubble of glue. Save one or two of the cellophane bags that our Fitz Design products come in, and that will help you clean off your nozzle. Every once in a while, you just have to do that. This glue does dry off, so once you do that, it's nice and clean again. The glue will flow nicely. So just another useful hint for something we'd normally throw away. Just keep a couple of those cellophane bags on hand. Okay, got that covered. Again, then about a medium amount of glue, not too much, not too less, just enough that it's all covered. Following with the shape of my ribbon, which is horizontal, elongated, that's where I'm going to go ahead and place my leaves in that same direction. Again, prepping before I go ahead. Get my glue on there and come back. One in each direction. And because there was glue on the disc and glue on the leaf, I didn't have to insert it and pull it back. I could go ahead and just use the leaf directly onto the disc so that I had the glue to glue contact. We have our feathers. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to deconstruct them slightly so I can spread them out. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the rhinestones out of them as well, because I'm going to use those. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and take a couple, get some glue on them. Okay, let's got a couple of them on there. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my flowers. Get those all prepped up. Place those in. Want them each facing kind of in opposite directions there. Kind of at a slight angle. I'm going to come back in and add some more of my feathers in then. That way they're not all flat at the bottom. There's some coming up into the center of the design. It's really important in designing corsages and boutonnieres work. We all know it when we're designing arrangements and containers, but a lot of times we forget and we have a tendency to design very flat or one-dimensional in our corsage work. And you'll find the most creative and the most beautiful flowers to wear are those that have depth to them and movement to them. So that's why we want to make sure that not everything is flat or coming straight out to the sides, that we have things that come up and move your eye back into the center of the focal point. And the feathers are the perfect way to do that. Just a light, wispy addition that really just helps keep things moving and keeps the texture and dimension going on a piece. All right, we've got some accent sprays we want to add to this. We have 2 of those left over from our pack of 6. And again, I'm going to just cut off some of the stem and then I'm going to curl that end up, creating that platform for the glue. That's very important. I'm going to kind of manipulate the gems so that they're not just all flat. Get my glue to that little gluing platform there, both sides. And then insert it. And in this case, I'm going to put them in the same direction, just slightly off from the leaves. Again, the second one. Rounding that up, that's really important. That was one of those aha moments when that was shared in our Fitz design team training a few years ago. It was just doing that little simple step made it so much quicker and easier for me. And I like to share that with everybody because I think that's important. So many times we get frustrated in our design work because it's not going exactly how we want it. So all these little tips and tricks that we share with each other help us to be better, faster, more efficient designers. Now you can see it coming together already. Just a couple little pieces of the baby's breath because our girl liked her baby's breath, and whether we like it or not, we're going to make sure she has her dream corsage and her dream flowers. And because we're creative designers, we're going to make that baby's breath look beautiful. Okay. Now we have these 3 little accent pieces left that I cut off. Actually, I have 3, but you know what? I'm going to add 1 more little blossom in there. That way I can use them all. And I have 1 little blossom left over. Remember, make sure you seal that cut where you cut it off the stem. Okay, now I have 3 flowers. I'm going to take my little rhinestones that I cut out of my flowers. I'm going to do that same little bending technique so that I have that gluing platform. And I'm going to insert them right down to the throat of the flower. Even beautiful flowers can use a little bling and a little enhancement. And it's fun to take products and dissect them and look at them of different ways to use the same thing. That keeps us keeps us up to date, and it keeps us having fun with what we're doing and designing. Remember, I said earlier, we have to have fun with what we do. Otherwise, holidays like prom, Valentine's Day, they just become such a tedious thing that we have to go through. But isn't it much more fun when we can take our designs and create beautiful things and enjoy what we're doing? There you have the finished hairpiece. As you can see, the comb sticks out just a little bit out from underneath. That's so that it's easy to insert into the hair. I wouldn't want too much coming down or make it too heavy. We want a little bit of that comb to be seen so that it can be used properly and secured properly into the hair without having to damage or get in there. Considering that normally the florist is the one going to insert it into the hair. Sometimes it's the mom or a sister or a friend. It may even be the hairstylist, but they're not the ones who are professional and know how to handle the flowers properly. So we want to make sure that when we're designing something, we're designing it in such a way that makes it easy for everybody else to use, because they don't know what we know. And unless we're going to be there to show them and tell them and teach them, it's up to us to make sure our products are user friendly. Okay.
Susie.
Yes.
For that hairpiece, when it is inserted into somebody's hair, how can you keep it from wobbling from side to side?
Well, it depends on the hairstyle and the person's hair. I've been cursed with very fine hair, so no matter what I put in my hair, I have to use bobby pins to help secure it in. That would be one way. So you need to know your customer and who's going to wear it, and also how they're going to wear their hair. Now, I know that you can't always do that in every situation to gather all that information, but think of it this way. The more questions you ask and the more information you get, the more interaction, and you're building that relationship with your customer, and they're going to really have confidence that you know what they need and what they want. So I would start asking those questions. How is she wearing her hair? Will it be up? Will it be tucking this into an updo or into a braid? A lot of times inserting it into something that's already been teased or braided and styled helps something like this with just the comb held in. If she has very thick, coarse hair, a lot of times the comb is all you need. But if she's wearing her hair maybe straight and she just wants something to put behind her ears and hold that in, I would recommend either including a couple bobby pins or suggesting that in case it does start to slip, to add a couple bobby pins into the comb once it's in the hair, and that will help secure it in place and stop it from sliding or wobbling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, a couple other things I wanted to do now that we have all the projects done. As you can see, we have our corsage, our boutonniere, and our third item. All coordinating. We've used all the products. We've used up all our flutters from one package, all our accents from one package. So we're being efficient and good designers. But let's have some fun with this. I want to show you a few examples of the same products, the same Fitz design products and base accessories used with different flowers so that you can achieve different looks. And this is where, I can teach you how to make this, but your creativity is where it takes it to the next level, is where we begin to explore what design is really about. Here we have another corsage. This is actually created on the rock candy bracelet. You know what? I'm going to take a second. I'm going to kind of bring you up here so you can see me and I can see you. Here we've used a Gerber daisy. For the corsage, we've added a few more ribbon loops to it, and we've actually did the little curly Q. I kind of call those my Cindy Brady curls because they look like her little ringlets on her ponytails, her pigtails. But a simple one Gerber daisy. We still have the 3 accents. We have the flutters. I've, again, deconstructed the flutters on this one, and I put some towards the base at the bottom and then stuck some into the petals of the Gerber daisy. So it's not just a flat corsage. It has a lot of depth and dimension. And then I've added some bear grass, made it curl, and I've done that. Again, you can just do that with the end of your knife and just roll it over there. Just kind of be careful so you don't cut yourself, because we all know that bear grass can leave some horrible cuts. This actually happens to be a permanent botanical bear grass, but you can do the same thing and give it some of those graceful curls. Or you could even do something like this with the wires that are available today. But again, what it's important I wanted you to see, it's the same base products. It's the accents, it's the flutters, it's a bracelet. Not only, excuse me, do I want to challenge you to sell the 3 items, the corsage, the boutonniere, and the hairpiece, I want to challenge you to always add 3 items in. Upgrade from the standard wristlet to a nice keepsake bracelet. It's important that we focus on the keepsake when you're selling this type of item, because we all know that the prom girl goes home and she pins her corsage up on her bulletin board or hangs it on her vanity mirror, and she looks at it and she keeps it and she remembers it, and eventually it gets all dried up. But what's great about adding one of these keepsake bracelets is that the corsage can be removed on the disc, and then she has the bracelet to wear. She can wear it to her graduation. She can wear it to other parties that she's going to have, take it on with her to college and have a nice reminder of her prom, and still have her flowers too. So it's important that we express that value of the keepsake. It's not just a bracelet. It's not just a way for her to wear the corsage. It's actually something for her to have to remember her prom and to keep wearing forever. So you can take this and turn it into this by using different flower types. Another style, again, using all the same base products. And this one is on our royalty bracelet. This happens to be one of my favorite. It also comes in 24 karat gold. Another different look, a little bit more on the wild side. We've got rose petals. I've deconstructed and made a composite rose out of the yellow rose petals and placed those into the ribbon. So I built this exactly the same way I did the ones that we created earlier, by preparing my base, tying on the ribbon, adding my leaves, and then building into the flowers. So the first thing I did was to build the yellow rose petals into the ribbon. And in this one, I went and left the flutters intact and just stuck them kind of cascading out of the center. It was fun. It added some nice depth and height to a mounded style corsage. And then I tucked in the accents. So again, the same base products, but used with different flowers.
Susie, I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
How do you suggest selling the accessory when the boy is often the one placing the order?
Okay. Is there another question, or is it a totally different question?
It is going to be a different one.
Okay, we'll address that first. How do you sell the accessories when typically the boy? Well, one of the things you're going to learn throughout the course, and that's why I hope you come back and visit us at our other webinars, is that we have some great ideas and techniques and tips for you to help engage the girl more. We see that as a trend. Years ago, I know it was always the guy that comes in, but we're seeing more and more girls come in and be part of the purchasing, ordering process for their prom corsages. And through some of the other ideas that we're going to share with you with prom parties and getting involved with your schools, the girl's going to want to be more involved in that process, and she's going to come in and help pick out the accessories. But if you're dealing with just the guy, actually you have it better, because you know what? The guy's there to impress. He wants to make a good impression on his date. So he's going to follow your lead. He's going to do what you tell him he needs to do. And so you're going to suggest these. You're not going to just say, we can do a couple roses and some rhinestones. You're going to say, okay, we've got this perfect. What color's her dress? All right, we're gonna start off with this beautiful green Color Your World bracelet, because that's going to complement her dress nicely. And then we're going to add some leaves, and we're going to add some accent sprays and these great feathers in the green to complement her dress. You're going to sell. You're going to take the lead in that process. And by the time he's done, he's going to be so thankful that you helped him choose all the right accessories for the corsage. Okay, the next question, Jamie.
When is a corsage considered too big?
Well,
Never.
they never, never, ever, ever. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And there are some people who I know, they just love the little tiny petite things, but you're going to have that girl who has that larger than life personality, and she deserves a larger than life corsage. So really, it's personal preference. Don't limit your sales to what you would prefer to wear. Guilty of that. I'm not a big flower wearer. I'm not comfortable wearing flowers, but I've learned to create things that are comfortable for me. So if I were to sell out of my likes and my taste, I'd be missing on a lot of sales. Never said it, but get those key things. Find out what they want. Find out what they're looking for. Ask those questions, and then just build away. And if it's big, it'll be beautiful. Anything else? Any other questions before we continue on? Okay, just a couple here to show you. Another one, again, remember, these are all the same base products, but they're all so different looking. Here we have our Avery corsage, another one of the Fitz favorites with our customers. It's a great all-around corsage, bracelet, and it's very comfortable to wear with the three kind of pearl beads. It's very comfortable, fun to wear. And again, this is available in a lot of colors, so it makes it a great staple to have in your prom selections. But this time we did the white dendrobium orchids. Orchids are very popular right now, and the good thing about that is they hold up very well. And so there's no reason for us not to offer and suggest what we would at one time consider a higher end flower now becomes almost like a daily traditional bloom that we want to use. So again, we have the feathers. This time I've got them all coming out of the one end for a more dramatic look. When this is worn, you can see how the ribbons cascade over the front of the wrist, of the arm. I recommend that when you're creating something that's going to have anything that cascades, that you always have it cascading away from the body and not towards the body. That way it doesn't interfere or get caught in any lace or netting or beadwork that might be on her dress, and it's more comfortable. And then all your cascading is free to have the movement and motion that you've intended it to have. If it comes over towards the body, then you lose that effect of what you're trying to go for. So in order to balance what I had cascading here, I put you can't hardly see because I have black on. There we go. I have the feathers off to the back, and then I've added the accents all throughout in between. The dendrobium orchids glued to the bottoms of the ribbon. Just a couple quick boutonniere samples. I have a boutonniere here. This one is totally glued completely onto the easy pin. Remember earlier I said that the easy pin, although it was originally designed for a wire and tape to make it easy for people to wire and tape, it works great as a gluing technique, especially when you can't use a magnet. So it's a great way to do it, and it's a fun, more contemporary looking boutonniere with a very simple daisy flower added to it. Here we have one of our personality clips with the Phalaenopsis orchid and just some bear grass for fun. That could be clipped lovely to a purse, onto her belt, onto the back of her shoe, onto her heel, at the back of the shoe, at the back of the dress. This is just a great, versatile little item to have on hand, especially when you're selling those third items. And lastly, we have another little hair piece. Very similar to what we made, except we have just a couple little cascading ribbons. Very simple, but all have the flutters, the accents, and a great Fitz design base. So I hope you've enjoyed the hands-on session of our webinar. I hope that you have lots of questions, and we've had some great ones come through. I want you to know that if you do have some questions after the webinar is over, that's okay. Just go ahead and send them into the Fitz office, and they'll get distributed to myself or to Dan so that we can make sure we have everything covered. We don't want you to feel like you don't have all the information. We're here to share our information with you. But we're really excited about our webinar series coming up, and we hope that you will check into some of the other ones. Our next one is Beyond the Basic Boutonniere next Tuesday, and that's going to be a great one to join in on, because it's all about how to upgrade your boutonnieres. But I don't want to take up any more time, and if you have no more questions, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Fisher, because I know he's got a lot of information to share with you, and it's going to be information that you can leave this webinar and start putting into action right away. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, Susie. I appreciate it very much. Let me kind of reiterate a few things before I get started. One is kind of like we talked about. January is a test for us. This is a learning. This is we tested it in the summer, but really the first time that people are doing hands-on design webinars. So we want to hear from you. It's a learning opportunity for us, and we have tons and tons of stuff to share. And we've broken it up into kind of bite-sized bits. Tom Bowling used to ask the question, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer was always one bite at a time. And that's what we're kind of looking at, working, and what we're doing here is doing things one bite at a time. So we're going to cover lots of topics, including all Prom topics. And then after we get back into, after the Valentine break, then we'll be adding other topics in addition to Prom. Excuse me, I have a dry throat, so I apologize for the cough. One thing, kind of so you understand what our foundation is. Our foundation is breaks into three components, and this has really been the foundation of our education for a number of years. And we break it into these three components, which we think all three of them need to be linked together. And it is first that we show you the wow. And those are the things that Susie did there at the end and at the beginning to show you different ideas, different thoughts, different concepts. Then after you've seen them, teach you how to make them. What are the techniques, the styles, the dimensions, those types of things that come together in making it. And then for us, the third component is how do you sell it? Now, my normal Prom marketing program is 3.5 hours. So what we've done is we've broken it up into 5 or 6 different pieces. And over the course of the different webinars, we will cover lots of topics. So if we don't get to everything today, matter of fact, I know we won't get to everything today, they will be coming up in the other webinars. So, but let me start kind of running through the some of the marketing tips as far as to get you started. We try and make sure that these are all things that you can do and do quickly and easily within a day. So I want to kind of set the precedent and an understanding of what my expectation is of what I do. So first, I want to say that my job is to challenge you. Excuse me. You don't need another person to just pat you on the back and go, wow, isn't that pretty? And keep doing the same thing over and over. We grow and get stronger by doing new things or testing ourselves and challenging ourselves and reaching to new levels. So my goal is to challenge you. And I'm not going to just go, hey, great, keep doing the same thing that you've been doing. So the other is over the course of these, you're going to get lots and lots of ideas. And all I'm suggesting is that you find a couple of them and you run with those. But let me go back and give you a quick translation of my statement. I'm here to challenge you. As we go through this, what I'm doing in advance is apologizing if I upset you. If I haven't challenged you enough for you to go, what is he, nuts? Or where did that crazy idea come from? Or that's what it is for me to do, is to cause you to think about things differently. So I've apologized in advance. I may reference the apology a couple of times, but I want to make sure everybody understands really that's what my job is to challenge your current way of thinking. Here's a few things about our promise. These are things that you can count on us. We are here to challenge you in design, in look, in marketing, in selling. We're here to train you and offer support for you. We're here to help you come up with ideas. We are a good sounding board. We have florists from all around the world talking to us, so we can be a good sounding board. We're here to give you tools to succeed. We're not just going to tell you to do things. We're going to give you the tools to also do them with. And then that we've also got creative, innovative products that allow you to be as creative as you want to be. So here's what we call Fitz rule number 1. And this is kind of the foundation of what we want you to do. We want you to do your homework, study your market, study the designs, understand the business aspect of Prom. We want you to put together a plan. We want you to be prepared. And this is going to take some time, effort, energy, and work. And then after you've done that, have fun with it. If you're there making corsages late at night and you're going, I hate this because I'm making corsages late at night, then you're going to be unhappy with it. But if you take the opposite effect, the opposite approach, and say, can you believe it? We have so many corsages to make at so many unique things we get to do that we're actually working late at night. This is pretty cool. So look for the positives, have fun in what it is that you're doing. Also, I want to share my definition of marketing. My definition of marketing is something you do that promotes your business that can be measured. So you may do things that can't be measured. To me, that's advertising. Marketing is things you do that can be measured. You can count the number of likes on your Facebook page. You can run a coupon and see how many coupons get turned in. So the things we're going to talk about doing are things that you can measure to know whether or not they really are successful for you. So I want to talk a little bit about the flood and the power of 2. We're going to flood you with ideas. And all I want you to do is to find 2 that you like, that you're passionate about, that you see some opportunity with, and work with those 2. Now, you may find 2 in different areas. You might find 2 in corsage, 2 in boutonniere, 2 in body jewelry, 2 in necklace, 2 in different areas. But find a couple of things. Don't try and do them all. You can't do it. And I know you can't do it because I can't, and this is what I do for a living. So just find a couple. Don't be overwhelmed with the ideas. Look for the ones that you can really attach to. And then my comment is, you know what? It only took 2 for Noah. He did everything with 2s, and it worked out just fine. So interesting fact here. Prom is the 4th largest floral holiday. And that is a way that we want you to think about Prom, either a holiday or a season. We want you to prepare for it in the same way that you prepare for a holiday or a season. Prom in the United States is $6.6 billion. It has grown from $4.4 billion in 2006. By comparison, during the NFL strike, folks kept referring to the National Football League as $9.2 billion industry. Prom in the United States is 60 to 70% the size of the National Football League. And think about all the effort, energy, time, discussion that's spent by people talking about the NFL. There is plenty of opportunity for us to get involved in Prom. The average couple spends $1,825 to go to the Prom. We have 109 people on this webinar, and 108 of you just said, not in my market. But actually, when we look at all the different things, I think you'll find that it really is in your market. The gown, things like tanning, the nails, the prom tickets, pre-prom dinner, limousine, the after prom, adding all of that together comes up to $1,825 as an average. The interesting thing is that at the end of the prom, there are 3 things left. Two of them are the least expensive on this list, and one of them is one of the most expensive. The three things that are left are the gown, the flowers, and the photography. And our goal is to help get those flower selling up. So one of the things, recognizing the size of prom, the amount of money that's spent on prom, the question then is, are you getting your share? Do you know how much your average corsage sells for? What are you going to do to raise that? Do you know how much your average boutonniere sells for? What can you do to raise that? Are you selling a third item? And then what are you doing to get customers to keep coming back into your shop so that you become their florist of the future? We do some cooperation with a couple of people at Teen Prom. They're owned by 17 magazines, so they share some information. But one of the things that they're doing in their trend presentations around the country this year is one of the things that they have recognized as a trend that young girls are expecting and want to be doing is fancy corsages. We all hope for this type of trend, and now it's here. So one of the things that happens is often we're our own worst enemy when we think to ourselves that they are only going to spend $10, $15, $20, or $25. Often we find that they've got considerably more to spend, but we're timid and we're afraid to ask them about it. But this is a trend of what girls are looking for and girls are expecting. The average price of corsages are going up. Take advantage of that. Use it to your advantage. Share it with the girls that this is an expectation and that the other girls at the prom are going to be having nice and fancier things. At Fitz, we do a lot about talking about goals and plans. So my question to you is, with prom season coming up, do you have a plan? Do you have a goal of what you want to accomplish during this prom season? Back to the question about what is the price of your average corsage? Do you know how you want to increase your business? Do you know where it can come from? Does your goal that you might want to increase your business 10%, or you want to raise the price of your corsages by $1? You want to raise the price of your boutonnieres by $2 or $5. You want to have 10% more customers. Something that puts in place a goal that you want to be able to work for this prom season. However, a very important thing about goals, they have to be tangible and they have to be measurable. So a goal that says increase sales is not really a goal. A goal that is saying, I want to increase sales 10%, something that's measurable that you can account for and see whether or not you're actually hitting the right target. You're hitting hitting what your goal is set for. And keep an eye on it and don't be afraid to adjust or change your goals. But once you put together a goal, you also have to put a plan together that says, how am I going to do that? So if your goal is to increase your prom sales by 10%, how much are your prom sales? What is that 10% number equal? And then what are the things that you can do that are going to create a plan that allows you to do that? Add $1 to every corsage, add $2 to every boutonniere, sell more customers, raise your prices, add more bling, use more expensive flowers, use more decorative ribbon. What are the things that you're going to do that are going to help you reach that goal? What is the plan that you've put in place? One of the things I know about all of us is that we do know how to do this. And one of the ways that we do it, and we do it often, is about going on vacation. When we go on vacation, we really set a goal. Are we going to rest? Are we going to have an adventure? Are we going to travel the world? Are we going to see wildlife? But you set something. Are you going to see family? What is your goal that you set together for your vacation? Then, at the same time, you put together the plan on how it's going to work. You're going to take this highway to get where you're going. You're going to go to the airport and you're going to get on this airplane and you're going to make a connecting flight here. you put together the steps. If it's my family, my wife likes to go on vacations to rest. I like to go on vacations to be even more active than I am. So we have to find a balance between the two. One of the important things you have to do is you have to share your goal with your staff. And the comparison to that would be kind of like going on vacation. And you're ready to go on vacation. You put the kids in the car and the kids say, "Where are we going?" And you say, "I'm not telling you. It's a secret." You want your team and your staff to know what your goal is. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? You want their feedback. You want their input. I say this often, and it's true. Every single person in our company knows what we have to sell every hour of the day for us to make our annual sales goal. All year long, they're bringing me comments, ideas, suggestions, thoughts. They want to be kept up to date. How are we doing? We're missing it badly. We're doing tremendous. We're plugging along. They want to know what's going on about it. It's not a secret. It is something to share. It's something to share with your family. If your family wants to know why you're putting in some extra time, a lot of times if they understand what your goal is, they can be more understanding of that. So here's some basic questions to start with. One of the interesting observations is that prom and Valentine's Day are almost identical. One of the things you have is a lot of people coming to you for an event that happens on one day, and then it's done and then it's over. But for Valentine's Day, we plan and we buy and we price and we calculate, and we know how much it's to add a balloon and how much it is to add a plush and how much it is to add candy, and what are we going to sell our 1 dozen rose vase arrangements for, our 2 dozen, our half dozen. But we don't spend the same amount of time preparing for prom, but they're identical. A lot of people coming for something that happens on one day and then it's over. And this is a great observation about how these two are very similar. You might be able to sell some apology roses after Valentine's Day, but you're not going to sell any corsages the day after the prom. So look at, what do you want your goal to be? Now, some people struggle. I don't know what I want my goal to be. So part of it may be to start with what your plan is, looking at these questions. What do you want to? How much do you want to increase the average price of your corsage? And let's do some quick math. You want to increase the average price of your corsage by $1. So how many corsages did you sell last year? Multiply those times $1, and you're beginning to put your plan in place. Same thing about your boutonnieres. You want to add decorative ribbon into every or into 50% of them. How much more is that going to increase the sales? You know that you want to get involved in 1 or 2 schools, and from those schools you'd like to pick up 20 or 30 extra corsages or 100 extra corsages. So if you're struggling to come up with a goal, look at putting your plan together, quantify and put numbers to those, and then that may help you back into your goal. There's been a lot of times that my family and I have gone on vacation, and we knew what we were going to do, but when we got there, we found out there was something we didn't know, and we were able to go and do it. So it wasn't necessarily a part of the goal, but it did become a part of the plan, and it became a part of what we were able to do. Excuse me 1 minute. Don't know why it didn't advance. Okay. Goals need to be specific, detailed, and written down. Written goals have some type of magic, and I can't explain it to you. Written goals stay with you and often happen. To just sit around a cup of coffee and say, okay, we're going to increase our prom sales $500. If it's just talked about and it's out in the wind, it doesn't happen to the same extent that it does when it's written down. So write them down. Make sure they're tangible. Make sure they're measurable. One of the things we have on the website is we have a planning worksheet that tells you exactly when to contact the prom committee, when to start making your selections, when to put your designs together. You might want to do one of these for each individual school that's in your area. Keep that planning sheet up. It's got a place to check when it's accomplished. Let your staff see what's going on. But keep an eye on those goals and see how it comes together. So here's a goal sheet. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take just a minute or two, write down a couple of quick goals, message them over to Jamie. And then, Jamie, as you get a couple of them, share them with me, please. So who's first?
Dan, the only question I have as of right now is, do you have a usable copy of your PowerPoint for people to have their own copies?
Yeah, we can email that to you later. Contact the office and it can be emailed to you. Keep in mind, it is just an outline. Not all the details are there. We got anybody who's willing to share their goals? Okay, well, email them to me. I want to know what your goals are so we can keep an eye on them, but I'll go ahead and move along.
No, hold on 1 minute. They just came in.
Okay.
I've got one that says preferred only florist for 2 schools.
Okay, great.
Sell flowers at both schools in town and increase sales by 15%.
Okay, very trackable, very tangible. Good. Now take that 15% number and turn it into a dollar number and share it with your team. Go ahead.
Somebody's number one goal is to create a pop-up shop.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then with that, what do you want your sales to be? What do you want the pop-up shop to accomplish? But nope, good idea.
You've got another one. I will sell 30 corsages at $50 to $75 and up, matching boots and a third item.
Great. And easily measurable and trackable. That's tremendous. Now, take and do the math, extend that out, and that'll help you tell you what your sales dollar goal is. But great goal. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Email them to me. I'm interested in them. Here's a planning sheet that's on our website. We can send you the link, but you can see what we suggest, how many weeks out to look at getting certain information together. I'm not going to cover all of these points today. We will cover all of these points in the different marketing sessions that will be coming up. Back to what I said about my expectation. One of them is to cause you to think differently. So one is I'd like you to stop calling a corsage a corsage. When you're talking to a girl, you really want to create a value, and everybody has corsages, but what you have is fashion accessories. And really what the corsage is a fashion accessory that goes with the dress. She spends a ton of time preparing to buy just the right dress. And then it's just the right shoes and just the right hairdo and just the right purse. And you want it to be just the right floral accessory. So if you refer to it as a fashion accessory, that creates value. Everybody understands that it's going to complement and just make the dress that much more strong and that much more powerful. So if you'll start referring to a corsage as a fashion accessory. The other thing Susie shared with you about is doing 3 things. Everybody's going to have a corsage and a boutonniere. But by adding that third person, you're saying to your clients, we're going to make you extra special at the prom because you're going to have a signature piece, a wow piece, something that's different than what anybody else has. And just by quick math, by selling 3 things, you know that your sales are going to go up because you're going to be selling 3 things instead of 2. There's this old saying about the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. So my question to you, is that what you're doing? Is that what you've been doing for the last few years? The same thing over and over, but wanting to see different results. And if it is, then you realize that it's time for you to look at doing something different. And hopefully these ideas we're going to give you are going to challenge you and help your business to grow. Just kind of as a quick note, when I bought Fitz Design in 2007, the average corsage ran between $15 to $20. Today, the average corsage is in the $40 to $45 range. A lot of that has come because people are willing to look at it, challenge, and sell more. So, number 1 goal, change the way you think about prom flowers. Think about it as a holiday or a season. Recognize that you're a leader. When they come in, you tell them what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to take care of the fashion accessory that goes with your dress. We're going to make sure that the young man matches you because that's his job. And then we're going to help you get a signature piece that makes you stand out from everybody else, even more powerful than something else. I skipped goal number 2. I'm going to put this into a different program. But goal number 3 here, I want to talk to you about this. There are prom magazines out there. They're about 350 pages, and they are pictures of dresses, and almost exclusively pictures of dresses. There are a few pages of ads, but mainly they're pictures of prom dresses. This is, a great tool to use. When the girl comes in, or even if it's the guy or the mother, have them to look at the magazine, or if it's the guy and he has a text message picture of the dress, and ask the girl to do 2 things. One is to show you the color of the dress, and you all know the nightmares that are saved by that, making sure that it's what shade of green is it, what shade of blue is it. This year, you may hear a lot of people saying red, but one of the hot colors is a color called watermelon. And we'll actually talk about dresses next week. The second, though, is to have the girl show you her dress or something like it. Then what we use as a rule is corsages should start around 15% of the price of the dress. And half of you just rolled your eyes and said, he's nuts. But here's what happens when the girl shows you her dress. She's really told you what her budget is. If she has a very expensive dress, she has access to a lot of money. If she's showed you a very conservative dress, then you don't want to try and sell her the big fancy corsage. So and for a boy, we look at the diamond industry has established a well-known rule that the engagement ring is 3 months of the man's salary. No matter how much you make, it should be 3 months of his salary. They have created that kind of rule for the diamond industry. There isn't any reason we can't create this type of rule for the flowers. If you tell them this is what it is, most of the time they're going to follow. Some aren't, but we're not trying to get the few. We're trying to make sure that we can focus on the large majorities of them. And here's one big thing about color. On the right, you'll see how men look at color. And on the left, you see how women look at color. And this is really, really true. So the Prom magazine will really help you a lot to help everybody understand exactly what the shades of color are. So here's a few helpful tips. I'm going to go through these very quickly because I'm almost out of time. Give them the freedom to be creative. Let them create as much as they can. Offer exclusive designs. We're going to talk about signature corsages in the next program. Have them pick out the ribbons that they like. And nobody says it has to be one ribbon. 2, 3, 4, 5 ribbons, that's fine. Show off your unique foliages, not just leather leaf or rose leaves. Again, a way for them to be very creative. Use peer pressure to your advantage. There's nothing wrong with saying the other girls are going to be fancier. You'll find a way of working that in that you're comfortable with. Raise your prices. Everybody does. Even if you just raise them a little, don't be afraid to raise your prices. Use the 3-point method. Have folks like to have good, better, best. The low end item, the middle priced item, and the expensive item. Have all of those to see. Most people are going to pick the middle item. Have the youngest girl in your store be the designated prom salesperson. Let's see if I can do this. If I'm the youngest person in your shop, go get somebody else. Make sure you train your staff. Have pricing that's easy and understand. Again, some of these we're going to cover in detail in other sessions. Don't say, I'll make it pretty. This generation doesn't go for that. This generation wants to see, know what it is they're going to get. The more they know about the process, the more they're willing to spend with you. Get the girls involved. We talked about them. Excuse me. Make sure they know that you're interested. Don't be afraid to offer your high-end suggestions first. They may take them. Start with higher price points. Have at least $100 corsage option. Have lots of samples made up. Don't assume you're just going to get the boutonniere order, but create the boutonniere that goes with it. Make it a part of the corsage ordering process. Try not to use frilly words, especially about describing the boutonniere. When he asks about it, she doesn't want to repeat what you said. And, well, it's very romantic. It's very cute. He's not going to be real comfortable about that. Don't be afraid to use incentives. And make sure you have fun with this. Sell the bracelet first. They're coming to buy flowers. Sell the flowers later. Tell them, here's the process. You're going to order your bracelet, and then you're going to do your flowers. Leadership, you're in charge. Don't be afraid of that. Training, we've talked about some of these. Don't forget the third item. Don't forget to stress how important it is that it is what you're making is a keepsake, and they're going to have it for many, many years. Concentrate. Think about in your goals and your plans, how do you make up the pickup experience when they come to get their corsage, something that's exciting? Text the girl a picture of her corsage when it's ready. She will then post that on Facebook. Again, we'll cover that in more detail when we do technology. We have a shop who shared with us that they bring the corsages out on a silver platter. Those are the kinds of things people remember. Have a photo area to take pictures of the kids with their flowers, with their corsages. Have them send you pictures of their corsages back to you. Make a wall to be able to put them up so people can see the types of things you do. Put your stuff on Facebook. Don't forget to send text messages of thank yous. Make sure you know your costs and your selling price. Create pricing sheets so you know what your margins are. I can't stress it enough. Train your staff. And don't forget to tell them. So that we'll open up for some questions here, but as we've said, this is kind of our training month. We're committed to doing these. We're very excited about this. And so send your comments. At the same time, want to make sure that you send your comments. Tell us what you liked. What did we do right? That's a question we ask often. That's a part of our culture. And here's where you're going to want to send them. You're going to send the comments to webinars@creationbyfitzdesign.com. And those will then get to the members of the our webinar team. Okay, Jamie, what kind of questions do they have for me?
And Dan, I do not have any questions at the moment.
Okay. Give them a minute or two, see if anybody has a question. Well, thank you very much. Next week is Beyond Boutonnieres. We will work with you and give you ideas on upselling boutonnieres. There is a boatload of money to be made in boutonnieres, some using our mechanics, some just being more design ideas and comments. Thank you very, very much. We look forward to hearing from you. We're excited about this, and we know that it doesn't happen without you. So if there isn't anything else, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you next week. And we'll make sure we get your invitations and registrations over to you. If you're interested in a copy of my PowerPoint, there's the email address to send it to, webinars@Creations by Fitz Design, and Sean and our customer excellence team will be able to get that out to you right away. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.